Good evening and welcome to On Point's Opinion, the show that talks about the hottest topics of the day and tomorrow. I'm Bobby Kinzer.
I'm Juan Holcomb.
And we are On Point's Opinion. So glad to see you all out there in the virtual world. We're here at the first of the month, every month on a Sunday. Not the first of the month, the first Sunday of every month. Let me make sure I get that correct. And this is a show about empowering people with information. We want to talk about all the daggone crazy things that's going on, Congress, Supreme Court, NBA, Ukraine, Trump, you name it. We talk about A to double A. So we want y'all to make sure you stay here, share this with some new people. Excuse me, and remember, excuse me so much. Click on that like button because that helps us reach more people, and the heart button. And place some comments into the box, or if you have some questions, or you have some comments about things. Remember, this is just our opinions. We try to we believe in facts though, but outside of facts, we are surrounded with our opinions. So do not try to sue us because you pissed at something we said. Remember, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you just can't make up your own facts. Just remember that. So with that, Juan.
Yes, sir.
Today.
Not bad, Bob. Happy Sunday to you. Start off a little shaky, power outages, this, that, but hey, the show must go on.
So much for global warming.
Right. Hey, but there's a question there, but I believe in the science, and that's why we have this show. We're going to deliver the facts, and then we discuss what we feel about the facts, perhaps, but the facts.
But we are dealing with facts. Let's get that straight, you all.
Yeah,
we're not making up our own stuff, and we're just tired of people, just with like fake news. We're just tired of that.
Mm-hmm. And the subjects are facts. The subjects are what happened, and that's what's driven us to here. And wow, in a month, so much goes on, Bob, nowadays, man. You can't. It's like the world just clicks on, and it's really almost mind blowing sometimes.
Seems like it's out of control. You ask me.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's some questions. We touched on some of these things in the past, but certainly we are teetering on some things. And I'll tease the audience with that. I think we're teetering amidst there now. Are we teetering over the edge, or are we teetering towards something monumentous happening? So I think we might be on that edge.
How about both?
How about both?
I think we over the edge and we on to something monumental. Because but Juan, I remember I was at work and I was getting ready to have Melody. Well, Tiffany was going to have Melody. And I was kind of worried about, I'm like, who in their right mind would want to bring a kid into a world like this with so much pain and suffering and incidents, and I said, man, the world is getting worse. And my coworker said to me, I'll never forget this. She said, Bob, there's no such thing as worser or worse is worse. The world has been like that. That's why they call it the world. That's life, Yeah. But let's talk about it, Juan. We want to start off with today.
Well, we thought the most important, the biggest thing happening right now is the Supreme Court rulings, Bob. Supreme Court rulings. And just to kind of piggyback on what you said there, I say to my father all the time, I said, it's a crazy world. He told me, it's not, the world's not crazy, the people. And I think that sums it up. That's that old time wisdom. But we thought most obvious thing to kick the show off tonight would be the Supreme Court rulings, Bob. They have been fast and furious, and perhaps some of the most impactful rulings of our times, Bob. And just so people know, now this is not getting all the rulings, but we have Roe v. Wade, which everybody knows is overturned. We have the courts overturning a long-standing law in New York saying that citizens have the right to carry their guns outside their home, which during these gun fever, and we talked about that on our last show.
With no explanation.
You're right.
That's another
right.
thing. They can carry a concealed weapon without an explanation.
Right, and outside of your home. So that was ruling. Miranda rights. You can't sue police officer not having reading your rights. They upheld the right of a coach, a high school coach, football coach, to pray in the middle of the field. So the whole church v. state issues, church and state. They had EPA ruling striking down Biden ruling to try to help climate change, and of course, there's always controversy in the climate change, as we were just talking about that. Fossil fuel. The shallow docket ruled that a Louisiana law that overturned a lower court ruling that they could gerrymander these districts, and essentially blacks would have no representation, but one district out of 6 in Louisiana. And for those who don't know the shadow docket, they don't have to write a reason; they can just vote it out. So, and these are not by nearly all of them. There are a number of others, but that's just to give you an idea of what kind of term they've had and the consequences of them. And so we want to of course, highlight some of these tonight, Bob.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, Roe versus Wade. Now, it seemed like the Supreme Court, instead of protecting the Constitution, it seemed like they were protecting political rights. And Roe versus Wade, the interesting thing for me, Juan, with Roe versus Wade is, for one, they citing some constitutional act way back in 100 years or something. They're trying to cite that particular incident with, how can you use to try to say that something that was created for the Constitution over 100 years ago, and you trying to apply it to today? That's asinine, for one. Mm-hmm. And for two, for all these evangelical type of ones that are really Bible beating people, mm-hmm. there is nothing in the Bible that specifies or talks about abortion. So for them to rest on their laws and talk about those kind of things, even with the whole Dred Scott ruling, Juan, back there, that was all about racism. Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, once again, Roe versus Wade, I believe the whole thing is more of their people were having abortions, and their population, and last I checked when I was a sociology major, that white people were at a zero birth rate, meaning for every one that was born, one died. So that means they weren't growing, and that's supposed to be why the population, they're saying by 2040 is going to be 2/3 of color. Mm-hmm. And I think it's already, the world is of color, just America is not.
Well, it's truly the handmaiden's tale, Bob. It's truly the handmaiden's tale. And for those of you who don't know, the handmaiden's tale is a story that was done forcing women to give birth, and they controlled all of that. So it's like life imitating art. So that's not surprising at all. But Bob, I try to be mindful of the, as you said, the evangelicals, church-going people, conservatives, in terms of wanting the people to have life, the right to life. But it seems to me that after they're born, the hell with the kids. But the fetus, they want to be taken care of. So it's just an odd thing too, Bob. Well,
it's crazy, Juan, because they, they want to execute you, but they're for life. I never get that.
Mhm.
You're in the fetus, they want to protect your life, but when you get to 18, they send you to war.
Mhm. Right, right, right. So I'm just trying to understand the the method to the madness, but also playing the long game. This has been a 50-year generation after generation fight to get this done. And once they had the court uh, set the way that it is, they almost seemed like they did it because they could. You know, they didn't have to. The Roe v. Wade has been upheld uh, through multiple Republican judges and things, but now having this what they call a super majority, they struck just as they said they would, which makes
But,
you think, why were all those judges lying when they testified before Congress and they talked about this as super precedent? Were they all lying, Bob?
evidently, and to what you're saying, Juan, because they could. It's a little bit more because just they could. Like I say, that's the little secret that they're not letting out. Why they, really
Mm-hmm.
are for
Mm-hmm.
abortion, against
Mm-hmm.
abortion. Excuse
What's
me.
driving it? Right,
They've done
right.
politicized it so much, but yet they talked about the care for the children. And I look at the state of Mississippi, which is horrendous for social services, especially for younger people.
Right.
And they're talking about, they're for life, but they're not providing any services for these people when these kids are born. They just had a situation, a young 10-year-old girl um, was pregnant, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she got pregnant. They said, and the guy, the black guy on the show said, hold up, let's get this straight. She did not get pregnant. She was raped.
Right,
10
right.
years old, you just don't get pregnant. She was raped. And first of all, was they even sentencing this guy who did that? But but now she can't even. She got to go way out of state to get an abortion. It's man, it is so ludicrous. And it seemed like, Juan, for over the years they have been taking control. It's been a little secret underbelly type thing. Ever since
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
Constitution, they wrote women out of the Constitution. They didn't just write black people.
Right.
They wrote women out of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. 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 And no exceptions. And that story talks about no exceptions for rape or incest. Uh,
So is it a
that's
thing
just
about
crazy.
controlling women, Juan? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
what's a part of this?
Well, they talk about the Taliban and what they did. This is very Taliban-like.
Well, that's what killed me. They talk about human rights and the freedom of privacy, but then they step all over a person's privacy rights.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's
Well,
mind-boggling, man. And I hope these elections will will give the whole story about how the pulse of what the people are. That's
right.
what I like.
Well, Bob, something to that. I was listening to somebody from I think my sister's school, Columbia University. He's a law professor, though he's written a book. I can't think the name of it, and forgive me that. But he was talking about things like what around the world, because we are for developed nation. We have some of the worst mortality rates, especially Black women. Die in childbirth. So some of the worst. I think we're 55th in the world in mortality and with birth. And so that's crazy. Mississippi is obviously one of the worst around the country. But he talked about what would be better in places like Germany, because when Biden was just abroad talking and discussing things with some of the leaders, as they would, of course, talk about Ukraine and so forth. But what they do in, I think, Germany to deal with it, they offer incentives, that give the, to have a baby rather than being penal. Give them time off, give them child rates, give them take care of the kids when they have them.
But look at Germany. Germany ain't got no Black people. They want
Right.
to promote having kids because it's about increasing the population. Juan, do you know who the eternal dark elf is?
The internal dark elf. I do not.
Yes, and this is what I was talking to you about the other day.
Mhm.
So check out the statement from the eternal dark elf. Roe versus Wade authority is 100% to preserve a white majority in USA, prevent minority majority. That might be true, the eternal dark elf,
Mm.
whoever you are, but very good statement.
Yeah,
But Juan,
quite a
but that's the
statement.
difference between Germany and the United States, because
Right.
Germany in the same like with Ukraine is majority white population. There's not that many black folks there. This was the other thing, Juan, with people that notice.
But Bob, do they want? But obviously, I think they want more white women to continue to have birth, right?
Right.
But
No,
the
yes.
incentives, because it's hard for people to plan, that they were saying many people who have abortions, women are women who already have kids. They can't afford anymore. They can't do, so they, already have children. So it's ludicrous. And I'm going to tie it into something else as we move
Well,
down the
Warren,
list.
the difference between being here, Germany, Ukraine,
Mhm.
or Turkey,
Mhm.
is if they are giving incentives to have kids, that means blacks and Hispanics will also have the same incentive. It's
Mhm.
different than giving
Mhm.
incentives like that in a
Right, right,
predominantly
right,
white
right.
country.
Nations, right.
But a lot of things people didn't miss, man. This whole Supreme Court thing, with
Mhm.
3 of the justices come from a stolen seat from Obama with Kavanaugh, right, with
Yes,
Garland, where he wouldn't let him
yes,
have. Trump
yes.
made Kennedy leave, and
Absolutely.
Amy Barrett rushed on the court 8 days.
Amy Coney Barrett,
Amy
right.
Coney Barrett was rushed on the court 8 days before the election, which Abraham Lincoln said, it shouldn't be justice should not be elected by the next should be elected, excuse me, by the next coming in president. So
And show the
that was kind of
hypocrisy
a
of what
no.
McConnell did
Yeah,
and the ruthless.
just hypocrisy, Juan. I mean,
Right.
I
Yes.
just
Yes.
but
Yeah.
so
That's exactly.
let's move on. Unless you have any more comments on. Well, we
Well,
spent
I
the last
think you can tie in row to a lot of these things, Bob. But go on. But right.
yeah,
So
but we forgot. Well, and then we forgot the other, and just talk about would expand the gun rights in New York. That's just
right, right,
ludicrous.
right,
Um,
right, right.
and by the way, Juan, you said you said Bob, that was like they couldn't have because they were well, how do you say it? They were allowed to uh, not have concealed weapons in the house. No, you don't need to have a concealed weapon if you're in your house.
Right, right, right. Well, not only that, Bob, help me with this. I heard somebody say, I don't want to take it like it's my thought, but there's more. It seems like there's more rights for guns than there are for the woman in your body, and
Yeah,
and and tying it back to Roe v. Wade too, Bob, is, and it's fascinating. Another ruling that I did not even mention that they did, they overturned a Biden law that expanded to the largest companies had to have a mask mandate for Biden. So he was trying to get more
yeah,
vaccinated
I forgot about
people to
that.
do a thing. They said no, that the federal government doesn't have the right to say, to have them do a mask mandate. And I said, wait a minute. So they can't give you a mask mandate because that's taking away your freedom, but they can tell you you can't have an abortion. So
What
that is,
about
you have to
this?
follow that.
What about the hypocrisy of the coach that ruled that he could pray in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the field? Now
Yes.
his position was that he was praying by himself. He wasn't encouraging anybody else to pray, and he was just mumbling. Then I see pictures. He got all the kids around him
Right, right,
praying too.
right, right,
And a couple of the players said they felt, pressured to pray
right,
because
right,
if they want
right,
to get in the game and they ain't
right.
praying, so they felt maybe I should be praying too.
Yeah.
So yet it's so the hypocrisy. Juan,
Yes.
when will we? No, not when. How do we overcome this, Juan? How do we overcome this hypocrisy?
Well, Bob, you said something earlier. Living in a multicultural country, and I want to just say it. We won't talk about just black and white, which it tends to come down to those sometime in the very rawness of it. But we are very multicultural. You could have in that group Muslims, Jews, atheists, and they're feeling like they have to pray. And so that is just crazy. Of course, he wanted everybody to do it, but that's what the thing, this nation, they want a Christian theocratic nation. And we're not. But are they trying to carve that out?
Yes.
And have that piece of it.
Well, this is what I don't get, Juan, and we've talked about this before. It seems like they're trying to push everything back to states' rights. And the whole reason why we have federal laws, the reason why the Union came in and we had the Civil War is because it's for everybody. And the states, I don't know if you know this, but some of the states, that's why we went away. We started centralized banking because people were printing their own money. They had their own banks. And they want us to go back to where the states make their own rights. But the only problem with that, the states sometimes are thinking about the minority, and I'm not talking about black and Hispanics. I'm talking about they think that their minority view should outweigh the majority rule. And we live in a democracy. I don't care how you look at it. We live in a democracy. That's why we have elections. So that's the contradiction. It's like they literally believe in this "Make America Great Again" thing, like they're trying to take us back to Civil War times. It's just not going to happen. So Juan, let's go. We need to move on to the next subject. Juan, the January 6th committee hearings. Juan, it looked like Juan's frozen. Okay, Juan might have to jump out and come back in. So one of the things we wanted to talk about was the January 6th committee hearings. I don't know if y'all been watching them. A lot of people say they're tired of it. They don't want to watch it. But the interesting thing about the hearings is like, is anybody going to get convicted? Especially ex-President Donald Trump, when it's coming out clearly that he incited some of these riots, that he, he knew about it days before. So are the hearings having an impact on the people? The other questions are we better? Are they better than expected? Or will this lead to charges and indictments? Now, the last hearing was explosive with the young lady who was assistant to Meadows, the chief of staff and Trump's staff, and that was a major revelation of that. She said how much they knew, and Meadows and Giuliani was asking for pardons. That should tell a lot. So don't know where this is going, you all, but it sure sounds like some people should be getting indicted. Now we're going to get Juan. We've been having some technical difficulties because Juan's power went out last night, and he's over his sister's trying to use her system, and we're trying to see what's going to happen with him if he gets back on. Here he is.
Sorry about that.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen. And so I was just talking about the January 6th committee. Is anything going to come out of it? Is it going to be any indictments, or is it going to have an impact? Do people care? Put some comments out there, y'all, in the comment box. Let us know, what do you feel about these revelations from this January 6th? And the interesting thing about McCarthy, right? That's Speaker of the House, right? Where he didn't let any of the Republicans be on the committee. And that was the worst mistake he could have made, but the best mistake to me, because they would have just got on there and filibustered and asked stupid questions and waylaid the whole particular committee hearings. But now they're not, and they will allow people to state one, so it backfired.
It truly did. And let me say, apologize again, technology, you all. But yes, it really was a fateful thing to have them not be able. They would have had the Jim Jordans and the
Gates,
pedophile. Oh, excuse me. So they would have mucked it up. But I think that the hearings, Bob, have been better than I could have expected. I think that they've done their research, they've done their investigations. I thought that they have it set up, very compelling, and I just thought that the latest thing that they did, the last hearing that they had, the Hutchinson was explosive, but all of them have had their moments and compelling. Even when some of them seemed like they got down, perhaps into the weeds, but it really allowed people to, I thought, see, how this thing was orchestrated in time. And man, it really. What I'm just concerned about: do they have enough time, Bob? And do they? And will there be some indictments out there that's coming?
So what do you think? What do you think?
I,
Tell me what your opinion. Do you think it's going to be any indictments?
well, I really try to listen to legal people talk, and then just analysts and legal analysts as well. But because it seems like to us, I'm a layperson, I'm not an attorney or anything, but it seems like it's just criminality everywhere. But I do try to follow what legal thing says. Trump is so good at, they refer to mob bosses oftentimes, and he's good at how he conducts his business. And the law is so precise, especially when you're talking about a very rich, powerful person. That's why you see a lot of things stall out, being able to prove it. But I think at this point, you have to. And many people said with this last witness in this last hearing, witness tampering could be one thing for sure. That's something that they,
Trump did that a
about.
million times before that. He did that a million times before even this Hutchinson lady.
True, but corroboration. I mean, he has a lot of exposure in Georgia and places, but once again, you're trying to go after the president of the United States.
He's not the president anymore.
Former president of the United States. Good point. But I think, I think the committee wants it to be. I think they are making they're going to make criminal referrals. I think it's even some Fox News people, they've all have said that they look like indictments, sure. But
I think Garland's too soft.
Mm-hmm.
The Department of Justice, I think he's too
think
soft.
you don't want to do it, huh, Bob?
He's too soft. I don't like the way he's been proceeding on things.
Mm-hmm. Well, the whole thing for Biden too was and this is unfortunate because it's like almost they want the Democrats to just get back to normal, and it's not ever going to be that way. The genie's out of the bottle. They've broken every precedent, every norm, every tradition there is. But I agree with you in this sense. I think Biden wants to be bold to talk about, but I do think he's mindful of traditions. And it's just like they want him to do more on Roe v. Wade, but he doesn't have the votes. With Manchin and Sinema still kind of holding out, they won't do anything about the filibuster. I think that's a problem.
Well, but do you know this is the first time I heard Biden say he wants to do something about the filibuster on certain things. Did you know that's what came out this past week? He actually
want to carve that out, but you still need the votes to even carve something out, I believe, don't you? Or you need, I don't want to say it like I know all right. I still thought you needed votes, the necessary votes to
it's a procedure though, that there is a procedure, mm-hmm. which I thought what they call the nuclear option, that they could do, but they never want to do because they always state this precedence. if we do it, then when the Republicans get into play, they're going to use it on us. And I'm like, forget all that. If it was Republicans, they would do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
And have done it, haven't they?
But, and actually have done it. But no, I think it's, and we need to research it better. But they could do it with the amount of Democrats they have in the House. And I think it's something about Kamala Harris that may add to that. But we need to get more up to date on that. But Juan, since we here, let's transition.
Okay.
And we almost at the end of this topic anyway. Let's transition right into then.
But Bob, I came in just a little late. Before you do that, before you transition, what's your overall opinion of the hearings yourself too? Because I
think they're great. I'm so glad the Republicans are not there to filibuster and do that stupid things that do ask the stupid questions like they did with Chief Justice Jackson. I'm so glad that I think it's great. I think it's relevant. I think the people need to hear it, but people are so burnt out. I'm worried about if people really even care because they're so burnt out. Like Juan was, it's this information overload. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's how the system works. Believe it or not.
Yes.
They feed you and overload you with so much that you can't tell the top from the bottom, and that's how they do the little magic stuff over here to get you to go over here, or they do stuff over there. But I think it's great. I think they had executed them very well, and they took their time, just like how they came back with this one special breakthrough with the Hutchinson lady.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think they've been great. One, it revealed a lot. It revealed way more that we didn't know, and a lot that we sort of assumed.
Right.
These and plus one, I'm glad some of these other people who were, Trump supporters and boosters came forth and dealt with the truth.
Yes. And it's been mainly Republican witnesses and what they're telling. I think that's important as well, Bob. And it was quite compelling in the testimony too of Ruby Freeman, the hearing before this, and her daughter, and they talked also about her daughter's the grandmother in that piece, but how the threats and that's also something else, man.
That was hard. That was my heart.
It's same here, Bob.
Grandmother's house, and somebody will make a citizen's arrest.
Right. Can you imagine?
Man,
can you imagine that?
They lucky they ain't going to the wrong house.
Right. But I think that they know that, just like when they go to a Buffalo shooting, and people may say I'm extreme, but I think they know where they go, and they knew that that woman was in a vulnerable position there, and that's what they said. They're election workers who've been there for years that are leaving by the droves, man.
You see what he answered the question, are any of the people there that was, working for the election? She said every one of them are gone.
Yeah, gone. And that's the goal. The intimidation is the point. Right. Okay.
But so to that point, they need to do something with the electoral vote too.
Yes.
They need to get rid of that electoral vote.
Yeah. Electoral is used
the majority of people.
And can we be bold enough? But we got some stuff for some other shows too. We could come and we could be on it, Bob. We could use a lot. But go on.
Let's transition to how we always have a standard topic here, because we started gravitating into it. Let's give our Biden update. Okay. And the Biden update is, we got economic woes. Everybody's blaming the gas prices on him, which he has really nothing to do with. They blaming inflation, which has been the highest in 40 years, 8.6, which has nothing to do with President Biden. He's dealing with a lot, Juan. He's got the war, the G7. And you know what, man? Juan, did you hear that they kicked him out they expelled him from the G7 dinner?
Biden?
You know why? They said he couldn't stop Putin.
Oh, that's right.
That's a sick one. Yeah, no, that's a sick joke.
But
anyway, but Juan, what do you think? How you think Biden's doing? What's the rating?
Oh, man. I give Biden, look, in what he's dealing with, I give Biden a B, man. And I know that people say you crazy or hear things, but like I watch Saturday Night Live and I watch the things they do on them. But before Saturday Night Live came on, there was just a regular Fox show, the news, and man, the way the news program went, the things they said, it was awful, man. And so he's got a lot on him, that inflation, and I believe so many groups are gouging, they're taking advantage of inflation. But I think that's hurting him. And the gas tax, I heard an idea to do something with the gas tax.
Are they going to increase it? They're getting ready to increase the gas tax.
Right.
It's a benefit.
Right.
And so on. So this is the thing that I don't get. They talk about all the negative things with President Biden, but yet unemployment is the lowest that it's been in years. It's down about to 3 point something percent. Right. And you know that favors the employer, because the lower the interest rate, the more it favors employees, because if they get fed up with mistreatment of the employers, they know they can leave and go get another job. But when unemployment is high, it favors the employer, because they know it's not that easy to get a job somewhere else, and so you kind of trapped. So unemployment is low.
Yes, it is.
Despite the stock market, the way it's been down the past months, actually since January, overall, over the past few years, it's been up. Everybody, the economy is ticking along, GDP is rolling right along. So they talk all this negative stuff about the economy and what he's doing, but actually, I asked a couple of my friends today, I said, you playing golf today, aren't you, right? Because he was kind of complaining, you look pretty good to me. Look like you ain't lost no weight to me.
Right.
Because he was talking about how he was doing better when Trump was in, how he was making more money, how the gas price was down. I'm like, man, that didn't have nothing to do with Trump. It's called business cycles. It takes a cycle for a president to put something into play. It usually takes about 8 years for it to come into effect. It's called business economic cycles. So really a lot of that stuff was coming off of Obama that actually, helped the economy. It had nothing to do with Trump.
Yes.
And he talked about the taxes. I said, what? So because you're making a little bit like $100 more in taxes, but the majority of the tax rate went to the top 1%, which hasn't been paid for, and we're paying for it actually now. Is that you really hang your hat on taxes? So I'm saying, they're trying to give despair and gloom. Yes, Biden.
Yes, doing a good job of it.
Yeah, he needs to do a lot. But check this out, Juan. I hear a lot of black people always talk about what he's done for black folks. So far, President Biden has invested $5.8 billion into HBCUs. Do you hear that?
And Bob, quite frankly, until you told me that, I didn't know that, which speaks volumes. And I follow the news. We talk about that all the time. I follow these things. I'm watching shows. I'm listening. I'm researching, and I did not know that much was given. So is that a problem of them speaking that, or is that more a problem of we're not connected on that? What do you attribute that to?
It's both. It's so it got so many issues. Right?
So many.
And then so many people want to be disconnected because they burnt out. And then there's a lot of people that are not connected because they're just not politically savvy. That's why we talked about before, they cut civics out of schools.
Yes.
So that's why these young people don't understand nothing about the 3 powers of government. Because they don't know about civics. They don't know, so they're not interested because they don't know. And it's sad that that's how it is. But yeah, there's people are disconnected, Warren, for so many reasons. But I really hope that we and like how I am, Warren. I just don't like talking about the problems and the issues. I like to talk about the solutions.
Yes, you do.
Yes, one of the big parts for the solutions in all of this, Warren. And I'm not yeah, no, I'm gonna be biased, but one of the solutions is this show. It's all about a conversation, Juan.
Yes.
Racism is really all about a conversation.
You insist. You have said that.
It's all about bringing to the surface and talking about the things that are being done under the surface. It's talk about the things that people don't understand. Talk about the things that other people are not talking about that President Biden is doing. That's one of the things we try to do. We really are trying to be impartial. We're not trying to be for Republicans.
Right.
The show is not trying to be for Democrats, not trying to be for independents, not trying to be for black, white, Christian, Muslim. We just want to have and give the full facts, and you make your decision. You make your determination on how you're going to go out and vote, or how you're going to look at some of your local councilmen and people like that, because we want to empower you with the facts and just make good decisions. I don't mind if a person made a bad decision, but their heart is good.
Right.
Because we're human. We make mistakes. But if your heart is not in the right place, I ain't got time for you.
Well, Bob, you know what that sounds strangely like?
What?
That sounds like, is that democracy?
Good. Funny one.
Come on. But exactly. But in order for it to flourish, right? You have people with counterfacts. Well, they put their best things out and let people decide. But that's what the problem becomes when then they don't want it to be a two-sided point.
Yeah, that's what give up their view.
Their own view, and that's the problem.
That is the whole point of the federal government and the state governments and the local governments.
Exactly.
It's supposed to all work that you don't, try to
for our better
people. Yeah,
right.
And thank God. And this what kills me about some of these people talk about the government, and some of these people, most of the people are benefiting from the government benefits. Right. Like the roads. I'm like, how did the Amazon post office get your stuff to you, or the airplanes?
Right.
Because the government, how do you think the water you drink? Everybody could be drinking water like in Flint if it wasn't for the government.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But yet they just want to slam and then talk about your rights.
Yes.
You want to talk about your rights, and then you're just going to trample over people's rights.
Yeah.
So Juan, we are in a precedence moment. I sense a major change about to happen, and this happens through life, actually, through not just our lives, but also through through the country, through our culture, through our society, through our individuals, and the whole thing, Juan, is based on change. Most people can't deal with change.
No, they can't deal with change,
and that's all this is. But if you want change to be positive, then get involved.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's key to a lot of that we were talking about tonight. But Bob, you make me chuckle. But I think about something you said earlier that it's funny. I talk to friends and they say, "Oh man, what are they doing? This gas prices." And I said, "Well, why? What's going on?" He said, "Well, what are you getting ready to do?" Man, I'm getting ready to drive down to South Carolina and go to Myrtle Beach. And got the family, got a place down there. Wait a minute. Didn't you just say that gas? You got gas problems. You didn't think about staying at home.
We're fickle, Juan. We're fickles. This boy going down to Myrtle Beach, talking about
gonna play golf. They fly. They say their flights are getting canceled. Man, that's because they're there spending their money. The prices are going up. People are flying like crazy. So I'm like, well, wait a minute, man.
That's what about my man complaining. I'm like, complaining about what?
Right. But they're gonna blame Biden. But anyway, a little levity. But I think you're right. When you kind of parse through it, Bob, people realize they're much better off than they were under Trump. But I think that the way things are driven, the narrative. And clearly the media coverage, how the narrative is driven, it just does not make for a good look. I heard James Carville say something on that. He said there were some tools in the toolbox. He said there's one thing to have inflation and for people to be charging more and making unseemly profits. He said we can tax those profits that they're making and return it to the people like a rebate, you know. So that's what something he said.
You were truly on point today, because you keep segueing into our next topics. When you're talking about inflation and they're making all this money, they should be taxing. And we're going to talk about it in a minute. But all these NBA extension contracts of $250, $270 million, and who's paying for that? Oh, the people going to these games. But we're going to get on to that. But Juan, before we switch out, Juan, we got to have the conversation. I saw black folks really going at it about, Black Lives Matter, about guns, about racism. And I'm like, don't y'all need to talk to some white people? Shouldn't y'all be having that conversation with some white people who don't understand, who truly, because their world has not had to deal with some of these issues, shouldn't you just have a conversation with them so that they become more knowledgeable? Because we only know what we know. So I just want to end this segment, Juan, is for all of this, you all, because the young guys talk to me, man. A lot of the old guys don't even have the conversation with the young guys like I did. When I grew up, we were on the playground, Juan. I was playing with guys' fathers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they couldn't go to college, so they would go to government, but they would come after work and play ball. But you don't have that no more. AAU, you're not going to see no father playing ball with his son.
No.
Or his father playing ball with his son's friends.
Right.
But after that, Juan, we would have conversations. I would sit there and listen. They would school us. But we don't have a conversation. That's one of the solutions, Juan. I think it's not the solution in itself is not the solution of trying to find the answer. I think sometimes just having a conversation will lead you to the answer.
Well, we have to reach back and have that conversation and talk it out. And hopefully, Bob, we get some folks on the show and have some cross viewpoints on some things. So that's coming down the road without a doubt.
So with that, Juan, let's talk about all this money being spent for these young black men in the NBA. But let's talk about the Golden State Warriors first, if you want to go there first.
Well,
NBA champions.
The NBA championship was just won by the Golden State Warriors, and I just had a question, Bob, because you're a historian. For those of you who all follow Bob on Facebook, he will hit you with some pointed question. He'll have 100 people trying to decide who was the greatest, who had the greatest jump shot, etc. So I wanted to ask you, are the Golden State Warriors a dynasty? Because I've heard that thrown around. And are they a modern day dynasty or what? Are they a dynasty period? What do you think?
Well, Juan, the question about who is the GOAT. The question is not who is the GOAT. The question is, whether they're a dynasty or not. The question is, what is the definition of a GOAT? What is the definition of a dynasty?
Right.
That's what I don't understand, because people have their own definitions and they be debating, and I'm like, wait a minute. You over here and he's over there. So are they a dynasty? They've won what, 4?
4.
Yeah, 4.
Right.
So I don't know.
4 in 8 years, and been to the championship 6 out of 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the definition of dynasty, so I can't answer that. But I mean, they're pretty good. That's all I can say.
Say, bottom line, they're pretty good. Well, right. Well,
okay, is Steph Curry, does he move into the top 10 of the greatest players of all time?
I think yes. I think because he kind of revolutionary, one of the great shooters of all time, kind of changed the game.
Well, there's no question he's the greatest shooter of all time. That's hands down. But Juan, you got one problem.
What's that?
Who do you take out of the top 10 to put him in? And Stephen A. Smith
He
had the
wasn't in the
world.
top 10. He wasn't in the top 10 before. Who's the top 10, Bob? Who's the top 10? Because you can
And it
usually
depends on based on who.
right.
But the top 10 usually goes like this of all time players.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Did I say Jordan?
Yes.
Jordan, um, Jerry West, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm leaving one person off. Who would that be?
Older player. Probably one of the older players.
Oh, Oscar Robertson.
Oscar Robertson. I was wondering if that would
That's normally the 5. Mm-hmm. So that means which one comes out. And you know what Stephen A. Smith said, which I think is the most craziest asinine thing that he could say, other than the things he say.
What did he say?
He said he would take out Wilt Chamberlain.
I hadn't heard him say that. I'm not surprised. Take out Wilt Chamberlain and put him
because he only won 2. I'm like, well, it's not based on how many championships you won.
Well, I think what's the easier question, Bob, is he the best player in the league right now, Kirk?
No. Kevin Durant is.
Okay. Is he the best guard in the NBA?
Is he a point guard or is he a 2 guard?
I think
I'm gonna help you out. He's the new term. He's a combo guard.
Well, he's a point guard who can score.
He ain't no point guard. He's a combo guard. But yeah, he's the best guard. Yes.
I think he does. What they need to win, because he got some of the great assists. But I think he could average 10 to 12 assists. But the way they utilize him. But anyway.
So Juan, let's get everybody in on this conversation, Juan. Okay. So some of y'all are not basketball enthusiasts, and we know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But how do y'all feel about these young guys getting contracts of $200 million and up for 4 years, 5 years? When you go to the stadium wanting to see a game, if you have 3 kids, and you want decent seats, you probably have to pay $700 for food, tickets, and parking. I think that is ludicrous. I'm not going to those games. The only time I go to Wizards games because my man Phil Chenier gives me tickets. But other than that one, like you said, inflation, the valuation, the tickets and things going up, people can't afford this stuff. How do you feel about that?
Well, Bob, I'm just so, like you said, for the folks who maybe don't follow basketball, right now what's going on, they have a period that comes up that they call free agents. And that's a whole nother piece of where basketball players have reached a time where they're free agents and other teams can bid for their services as well as the team that they're on. And that team that they're on can also try to keep them there, but it's usually money driven. And so that's what Bob is referring to. There were some very outstanding free agents this period, and thus some contracts have been given out that Bob was referring to, and the highest being around 270 to 290 million, which is the highest in the ever in the history of the NBA, to 250 for a local player from ours, 250 million, and so forth. And it's mind blowing. I know some guys who wish they were playing in this era.
Well, Juan, tell me about this though. But tell me, what is your feeling about them getting this kind of money? On the backs of what we just talked about what's happening with people today who are struggling, who getting laid off. Many people getting laid off, and you're going to give a person, $250 million. That means it's going back. It's going to be back charged to the people who come to the games, and I got a problem with that.
Well, Bob, that's a great point, and I think I told you my father used to take us whole family to a game, and you know, parking and all those things. You know, 40 years ago, he would never pay something like this. However, Bob, how much of that though, Bob, is television money and television rights? They seem to put a lot into, you know, into the revenue of the league, because you know they're not giving it out of necessarily the goodness of their heart.
So that means they should be able to charge even less if they get money from television. That's my point, but they're not. Help me understand that.
That's a good point. In these arenas and things.
I mean, what was it? I don't drink beer. I mean, it was like $8 for.
Oh, it's got to be that. What did your wife say with the chicken tenders or something like? A chicken tenders and a fries and a drink is about
$15, $20, man. My
more
friend,
more than that.
I remember this was a few years ago. My friend sent his rites of passage for his son. Right, he was like 13, and he sat right below the concession stand. So he let his son go up there by himself to buy him something to eat. And his son came back and said, "Dad, I couldn't get enough for $5." He gave him more $5. He said, "Man, what the hell can I get
like my father
$5, man?"
Gave him $5. That won't even get a drink.
He said, "I couldn't get enough for $5, man." So, Juan, these contracts, I'm glad. But Juan, I'm not trying to bring race into it.
A lot of these,
you know, the NBA, I think it's got to be like 70, something, 75% black, if not more.
Right.
And these black guys are getting, you know, some big contracts.
Yes, they are.
But yet, the highest paid player in the NBA is a white guy. Now, I'm not trying to bring racism into it. I just want to
not American white guy. That.
And is that a coincidence that Djokovic is making $295 million contract, highest then, and they haven't even been in the championship?
Yeah, I don't know. That might be. How did one of our friends say it? That might be more commercial driven, because I don't know how they, you know, just came up with that figure.
Stop that daggone foolishness. You know what it is. Stop that daggone foolishness.
Well, but let full disclaimer. He's a bad boy. He's a point center. I don't know if they have that really, but a point center. That's somebody.
So Kevin Durant is a bad boy.
Oh yeah, yes he is.
And he ain't getting that much.
And what started free agent fever they have at this time is Kevin Durant wants to play on a new team, but that's another story.
And Kyrie Irving has messed up about 8 teams. He messed up the whole NBA.
And they still don't talk about him enough. He reminds me of Trump. He kind of slides around. They don't even say it. This whole experiment was Kyrie's idea. And then Kyrie said, "I'm not even gonna take the vaccination." Anyway, yes. I think that they want a player like the Joker, White. I think that, and he's 2-time MVP. You know, they're going to make him the face of the league, but he is at least he's very talented. Now that was a diplomatic answer, Bob. You got to give it to him.
Yeah, that's some bullshit, actually. You ask me. But anyway, Juan, we up on the hour, my man. Another great on-point opinion discussion. We like for y'all. You can still put comments in there if you have any. I want to shout out to my frat brother Rod Robinson. Said this is his first time watching. My co-worker Deborah Butler and Steve Thomaschek was checking in. What's up, Steve? Thank you for watching. And whoever the eternal dark elf is, thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, that was quite a statement.
Yeah, the first Sunday of every month, you all. Pass us out, like us on Facebook, and also subscribe to us on YouTube.
And send your suggestions to us. And
yes.
for those of you that know Bob or whatever, hit him up, or me. If you don't recognize names, Bob, let us know, because I know that people are discussing these things. I've seen some things on Facebook, some young ladies talking about how this is just, they never thought that Roe v. Wade. And I just want to end it right there, Bob, with this. Don't get complacent. And I say this every week. We're very comfortable. And I don't think people realize that things can be reversed. This is 50 years in the making. And I think they will go backwards if we allow them to. And Bob, you're always a very positive person. And I think, I think they use race. I think they use a lot of things. My sister would say, who's they? People, cynics, those who would like to control the narrative. And we have more in common than we have apart. And we should be enjoying life, should be out playing golf and enjoying life, not concerned about being able to go out, and that we have the right to vote like anybody else. And so, and I think that we have to hold on to that, or it really will be chaos. And Bob, you said something, I think when we talked before, maybe America needs to go through this.
Oh, there's no question. We do, because God is in control. Let's don't forget that.
Yes.
And I just like to end with this one. I want to end with this. Don't be afraid to have a conversation, because all solutions begin with a conversation, you all. And it's just, a lot of times it's just a misunderstanding. And one of the problems in our society today is everybody want to be understood, but nobody wants to understand. So go out there and have the conversation, you all. Talk to some young people. They're really eager to hear from us, believe it or not, y'all.
Absolutely.
But one thing I learned about coaching Juan, different from the old days. In the old days, it was like a negative type of way. You tell them you ain't going to be nothing, sorry, pick up, you sorry, sacker. And that's how they motivated. But nowadays, that just shuts down the young kids. And what they want to hear, they don't want to hear what they shouldn't be doing. They want to hear what they should be doing. And that's a whole different
positivity. Yes.
So when you talk to all these young people, just don't beat them down. Listen. It's so important. Listen. One, people don't understand. If you rearrange the letters and listen, it spells silent. So won't we just stop for a little while sometimes, y'all, and let's listen to one another.
Clever.
With that, y'all, have a great day. On Point Opinions, the first Sunday of every month. We're here. Look forward to seeing you. And may God continue to bless you.
Yeah, stand up for something, or you'll fall.